I read Odufa a while back, and I remember how it was such a weird book. So, for context, I read this a few days before my exams. I think a week or two before my final exams in uni, and I was the only one in my room then. So I remember I was just shouting in the middle of the night, "What's going on? Why is this happening? What kind of traumatic story is this?" Anyways, that's Odufa by Othuke Omniabohs. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation of his name. Hi, I'm Robin. Welcome to Robin True Books, and today I'll be discussing Odufa by Othuke Omniabohs. Now, what's this book about? This book is about, as you can see, it's a lover's tale. I don't know, I was expecting romance when I saw this title. Maybe that's why I just felt so heartbroken when I realized it wasn't a proper romance story. You know how people say they like toxic love stories? Well, this was a toxic love story, and I'm not a fan of this kind of stories. So when I read this, I was like, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid. That kind of thing. I feel like if you read it, that's what you're going to see also. Because the things that were happening in this book, they were short of demonic. I mean, it was short of demonic. I'm just trying not to give spoilers. So, actually, if you get to some, like, if you start reading, be like, oh, so this is love, da 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 da, because this guy really loved this babe. But then as you progress, you see certain actions taken by certain parties to the relationship, and you're like, what is even going on? I'll mention one thing about this book. So this book is one of the things that sold the idea of NYC camp to me. In this book, Tony goes to NYC camp. So the two main characters in this book are Tony and Odufa. So Tony goes to the NYC camp, and NYC camp is chill for him. Not like chill, but he meets this particular guy, and then he gets into a rut. Like, Odufa, he needs to see Odufa. I'm trying not to give spoilers. So yes, he gets into a rut. He needs to see Odufa, and this guy pulls strings for him. I was like, woo! It was giving like Odogu kind of thing. So yeah, actually that guy qualifies as an Odogu, not just the Instagramification of Odogu. No, he was a proper Odogu, but it wasn't even an Igbo man, by the way. But he was just, he had money in the bag. So that sold NYC camp to me, because I was thinking maybe I'll meet someone like that in NYC camp that would like be an Odogu or Odoguess. I did not mind which one I was going to meet. But I went to NYC camp and I survived. That's the main thing. I barely survived, but the main thing is that I survived. So other things I'll talk about this book is, like I said, it was a real lover's tale. Imagine a man writing poems for you, not just one poems. Like, this is for you. One of the things I really love in life is having a poem written for me. I know I earlier talked about the dangers of falling in love with a writer when I was talking about Dreams and Assorted. When I was talking about Affection and Other Accidents by Dami Ajayi. But to be very honest, it's a very beautiful feeling to fall in love with a writer, and as much as the heartbreak usually is very devastating, it's something that if it happens naturally for you, you should welcome it, you should encourage it. Odufa is a necessary story, because I feel like for the very first time, if you've been looking for women that have been wicked to men, this is one book you have to read. Another book I'll ask you to read is the book that Feyi was a FMC, where she I love that book so much. I don't know why, but it starts with she had sex, she fucked a man the day on her husband's anniversary or something of the sort. You made a fool of death with your beauty. Yes, that's the book. So I really like that book. But yeah, so this toxic, the female character here is very toxic. She's the, you know how in African fiction we say that, oh, men are the wicked ones. Here it was the woman. She was a mad woman. So there is a sequel to this story called Aviara, and I haven't read it yet. So I wonder what part the story goes, because the ending of this was a little bit very ending. So what I mean by very ending, there are certain types of endings in literature. Some endings are called open endings, where you're like, what happens next? But here, there was a sort of finality. There was a final scene, so I felt like it is finished kind of thing. But I realized I was wrong, because there is a sequel. So I hope when I get to read the sequel, I may do a review. I may do a proper review. For the characters, it was written so well. Like, I could visualize all the characters, not just major characters. I could visualize their family members, and I understood the kind of person Odufa was when I watched the relationship her mother had with her father. Like, you could see, oh, this is where this girl is coming from. That's why it's like this. So earlier, sometime in my life, I made this assertion, I think 2 or 3 years, I can't really remember, where I said that the family a person comes from, it determines a lot of things. It determines the kind of person that they become. It determines how they even love. That's how much your family impacts your life. So when you see certain traits in certain people's family, that's why it's good to talk about. So if you're with someone, if you're talking with someone, if you're in a relationship with someone, you should talk about their family to see how their dynamics play out, so you know, oh, this is what I'm going to expect. So that's why in certain abusive homes, we realize that even if the person, the child in the home, doesn't want to continue the pattern, doesn't want to continue the cycle, it's going to be something that will be very, very difficult to break. So it's something similar here, but this one, it was from the woman's side, which is why it is very important. So except the person makes very deliberate choices to avoid repeating those cycles, they tend to repeat themselves. Anyway, that's all for me for Odufa. I hope you read it. Please don't break my head when you read it, because I've told you guys it's toxic. It's there's a lot of God forbid that you say so many God forbid. I told you, like, I'm telling you now, I'm giving you heads up, so you won't say that I'd not prepare you for what you were going to meet in this book. I'm preparing you now. Anyway, that's all for me. Bye.